Hi everyone, it's Leah Lawson. Today I have a fun card to share with you that I created for the Winnie and Walter and Brutus Monroe collaboration that's been going on all week. I used the kindness stamp set from Winnie and Walter, which is one of my favorites, and it's coordinating die cuts. When I was choosing my Brutus Monroe products, I wanted to make sure that I picked out some items that complemented what Winnie and Walter already does well. So I chose the Detail Ink and Raven. I've also heard really great things about their ultra-fine embossing powder, and I chose the color Gilded, which is a really beautiful metallic gold. I also picked up the smooth watercolor cardstock panels. What I loved about this is they are bright white and they match the cardstock perfectly. And I was super excited to try out the Not Your Mama's ultra heavyweight cardstock. It's 130 pounds. I love thick, luxurious cardstock, and this didn't disappoint. I highly recommend this cardstock. It was beautiful. So the first thing that I did was I stamped the larger cacti from the Kindness stamp set directly to the watercolor panel using the Detail Ink from Brutus Monroe. It did take a couple of times to stamp to get a good stamp impression, which is perfectly normal on watercolor paper. I decided that I wanted to do some watercolor smooshing, so I grabbed a couple of my Pink Fresh Studio liquid watercolors in Emerald City and in Lavender, and placed a couple drops of the colors to transparency blocks and spritzed them down with water. Then I just proceeded to flip the stamped panel over and plop it right down. I love that you don't have a ton of control in the beginning, but then once you flip it back over, you can just add some more watercolor and water in areas that you want with a brush. As you can see, I added a little bit of emerald down into the lavender section and a little bit of lavender up into the emerald section because they didn't meld as well as I thought they would when I did the smooshing technique. So you do have a little bit more control over that with just your brush. So a couple things about this paper. It is super bright white, which is awesome, but it worked a little bit. So I did have to flatten out my sheet overnight. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. While I was waiting for the watercolor panel to dry, I did start working on the sentiment. I wanted to stamp it to vellum, so I threw it all in my MISTI and made sure to use my powder tool because embossing powder does stick to vellum pretty well. And then I just covered it in that beautiful embossing powder and heat set it, and you guys, this embossing powder is beautiful. Then I die cut it with the coordinating die cut from Winnie and Walter, and it leaves that nice vellum outline around it, which I absolutely love. So once the panel was flattened, I did mount it to some foam so that it wouldn't warp anymore. And then I just added some gold paint splatters to the front with my Gonzai Tombi Starry Colors paints. I used 2 different brush sizes for that in order to get some different splatter sizes. Because I had mounted it to foam, I just needed to pull the foam out of my MISTI in order to finish up the sentiments. My sentiment says, "You scatter kindness wherever you go." I just used the kindness die cut word in order to line up where the rest of the sentiments should go, and then stamped them to that front panel in that same Detail Ink that I stamped the cactus in. For the top part that says "You scatter," that stamp actually says "your," so I just masked it off with a little bit of washi tape and then inked it up, pulled the washi tape off, and finished stamping it to the front. So I did pop up the kindness word with some really thin little pieces of foam tape and then just adhered it to the front. And then I mounted that whole watercolor panel to the front of an A2 card that's made out of that super 130-pound thick cardstock, which is awesome. The final step was adding my signature jewels tucked here and there. These are just iridescent jewels that I get at the local store, and I just love the little bit of extra accenting that they add. So that's my card for you today. I hope that you enjoyed watching my watercolor smooshing process. It's definitely fun, and I hope that you'll try it out. If you like this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss anything that I have in the future. Other than that, have a great day.